right, hi everyone. Welcome back to our class. Again, this is Teacher Tina, and today we'll continue our discussion on percentage. Okay, for today, we will tackle about conversion of percentage to decimal and decimal to percentage, and then we will try to find the equivalence of percentage, decimal, and fractions. And then we will also learn how to compare fractions, decimal, and percentage, and then order them in ascending or descending order. So after this lesson, we'll be able to write percentage as decimals and decimals as percentage. In our previous lesson, we tackled about percentage and fraction. Okay, writing percentage as fraction and fraction as percentage. So now percentage as decimals and decimals as percentage. And then before this lesson ends, we will some we will have we will sum up all this percentage, decimals, and fractions all together. So just just go on with this lesson, and then we'll also learn how to compare fractions, decimals, and percentage, and of course order them in descending or ascending order. So here are the keywords we'll be using in this lesson. Fraction, this is very common already because we've been using this from our previous lessons. So fraction can be identified if there is a numerator and a denominator. So next is equivalent. Equivalent means the values are the same or equal. Okay, so just like 1/2 is equal to 5/10. So we see here 5 is half of 10. So they're equal. The same with 50 over 100 or 50 out of 100. That is 50 is half of 100, so it's still equal to 1/2. And of course, equivalent values can also be seen even if they're not all fractions. Like this one, this is a decimal, but they have the same value with these fractions. 0.5 is half. So that means all of these four are having equal values, or they are equivalent numbers. Same with this 50%, it also has the same value with this fractions and decimal. So all of this is equal to 1/2. All right, the third keyword is percentage. Okay, percentage is a number expressed as a fraction of 100. All right, just like this 65 out of 100, this fraction is equal to 65%. That means when, let's say, there are a group of children, 100 children, and 65 of them are boys, then that means the percentage of boys in that group is 65%. So percent here means per is every, and then cent is of 100. So I mean every 100. Percent means of every 100. So it's almost the same with the fraction with the denominator of 100. So next here, oh yeah, the same with this. 20 out of 100 means 20%, or 20 out of 100. 48 over 100 is 48%, or 48 out of 100. Okay, so percent means out of 100 or of every 100. Okay. So next, decimal. Decimal means a number less than 1 expressed by a decimal point. So you cannot say a number is a decimal if you cannot see a decimal point. So here, that's the sign of a decimal point. I mean decimal number. It's the decimal point. Some decimal numbers have whole numbers, but the decimal number actually is just the number after the decimal point. But since it is connected with a whole number, then this number is still called a decimal number, even if there is already a whole number in it. Okay, as long as there is a decimal point, then that is a decimal number. Okay, the fifth word is compare. which means to decide if values are greater, smaller, or equal. Okay, so we'll be in this part, we are using more than, less than, or equal symbols. Now, in this lesson, we're going to um, focus on finding the equivalent percentage of fraction and decimal. Yeah, but we're done with fraction in our previous lesson. Now we will focus more on decimal, and then we will sum them up all together, the percentage, the fraction, and the decimal together. All right, so what do we see here are 5 hearts. The three of these are red and 2 are dark. So let's try to complete the sentences. Blank out of blank hearts are red. Second one, blank out of blank hearts are dark. So when we say out of, what do you think is out of? Is it the numerator or the denominator? Okay, in this case, let's see. For the hearts, it's 3/5, right? Because there are 5 hearts and 3 of them are red. And for the dark hearts, it's 2/5, right? Because two are dark out of 5. So when we read this fraction, that is 3 out of 5, or 3/5. So out of means the total. Out of. So since the total number of hearts here is 5, then that means out of 5 is the answer here. Okay, because that is the total. Now red hearts, how many are red hearts here? 3. And how many are dark hearts here? 2. So 3 out of 5 hearts are red, which is this fraction, and 2 out of 5 hearts are dark, which is the second fraction. So that's it. Now let's proceed to the second. What percentage of the hearts are red? Now we have here the fraction. Now for the question number 2, we're looking for the percentage. So how are we going to find the percentage of the red heart? Okay, so from the fraction 3/5, we're going to find the percentage. Okay, again, when we're dealing with percentage, the denominator is 100. Okay, when we have to convert, it's easy to convert fraction to percentage if the denominator is 100, right? In our previous lesson, did you remember? Okay, so in here, if you do forget, then we will refresh your memories. Now here you see 5. We have to multiply this into a factor to make this 100. So what do you think is the factor that could make this denominator 100? It's 20, right? So 5 times 20 equals 100. The same with 3, we multiply that with 20 because we multiplied the denominator with 20. So 3 times 20 equals 60. Okay, so now that we have the fraction with the denominator 100, that means 60 out of 100, or 60 of every 100. Do you remember how is that in percentage? That is 60, and percent means of every 100. So 60 of every 100. So in short, to make a fraction whose denominator is 100, you just copy the numerator, that, and then add the percentage. I mean the percent sign. So 60 out of 100 is equal to 60% in percentage, right? So our answer is 60%. All right, now let's proceed to number 3. Number 3 here is, what percentage of the hearts are dark? Now dark, in our fraction, dark is 2/5, right? Now we'll have to multiply 5 again to 20 to make this into 100. So that will be 5 times 5 times 20 is 100, and then 2 times 20 is 40. Now that we got the denominator 100 here, we'll have to we can now easily find the equivalent percentage of this fraction, which is copy the numerator 40, 40 out of, or 40 of every 100. So that's 40%. All right. Do you want to check if your answer is if our answer is correct? 60% plus 40% equals 100%. So our answer is correct. Okay. Let's try this one. You see here the first box is you see 4 stars there. These are the stars in the box. Okay, that means this is the total number of stars in the box. There are 4 stars in the box. Second box shows the stars that was taken out. That means out of 4 stars, 1 star was taken out. And the third box shows the stars left in the box. So if 1 star was taken out, then there will be 3 stars left in the box, right? That's pretty simple subtraction. Okay, but the problem is not that one. The problem is this. We're going to find the fraction of the stars left in the box and the stars taken out and the stars in the box, the total, and we'll also find the percentage. All right, so we'll start with fraction first. Okay, so what is the fraction of 4 stars out of 4 stars? Okay, of course, 4 stars out of 4 stars, because this is the total number of stars that was in the box. Now let's move to the stars that was taken out. The stars that was taken out is just 1. Out of how many is it? The total number of stars. 1 was taken out of 4. And the stars that was left, this 3 stars out of 4. Okay, 3 stars out of 4 stars were left because 1 star was taken out. Okay, it's easy to find the fraction in this case, but let's try to see and find the percentage. All right, so to find the percentage, we have to make the denominators 100, right? So it will be easier for us to convert this or to find the equivalent percentage. Okay, so let's try to multiply the denominator to a factor. But first, let's take a look at this. If the numerator and denominator are the same, then that means it's 100%. Why is it 100%? Because it's full, it's complete, nothing was lost. You see here, 4 divided by 4 is 1. And 1 is 100% because that means that shows the whole 1. The whole box is complete. There are 4 stars in it and nothing was taken out. 4 stars out of 4 stars. So it's 100%. Now we don't have to multiply this into 100. But if you do, you still get the same answer, 100. Okay, so here, let's find the fraction of the stars, the percentage of the stars that was taken out. What are you going to multiply to 4 that will make it to 100? 4 times 25, right? So we multiply the numerator and the denominator with 25. So 1 times 25 equals 25. And then the denominator, 4 times 25 is 100. Now the denominator is 100 already. Now we can now see the equivalent percentage, which is 25 out of 100, or 25 of every 100. So that's 25%. Now let's proceed to the stars left in the box. 3/4, we multiply 4 to 25 to make it to 100. And then 3 times 25, then that is 75. Now we have the denominator 100 here, so it will be easier for us to identify the percentage, which is 75%. Right. So that's it. That means the percentage of the stars that was taken out is 25% only, and 75 was left in the box. All right. Now let's try and focus on finding the equivalent percentage of a decimal. Okay, percentage to decimal. You see, this is a percentage, 5%, right? To make this into a decimal, to convert a percentage to decimals, you have to divide that to 100. Why? Because percent means 100, right? 5 out of 100. So 5 out of 100. So remember, when you convert percentage to decimals, you have to divide. Now, 5 divided by 100. Let's take a look at that here. 5 divided by 100. You see, 5 is smaller than 100, so that is 0. Now what we're going to do is we add a decimal point so we can add 0 here. Now 50 divided by 100, it's still 0 because 50 is smaller. So since we have the decimal point already, we don't have to put another decimal point here. We can now add a small, as much as zeros as we need. So we'll add one more 0 there and try to divide again. 500 divided by 100 is 5. So 5 times 100 is 500. Now 500 minus 500 is 0. So our answer is 0.05. But I don't recommend you to use this method in finding the decimal. Why? Because it takes more time. So what I recommend you to do is just do the same, divide, but not this way, not the manual method of dividing, but just count from, okay, just in here you see there is no decimal point, right? But as I have said before, when we discuss about decimals, the whole number has a decimal point after the whole number over here, right? But if there is no number, there's no digit after the decimal point, the decimal point doesn't have to show. It will hide. You understand? So all of this percentage over here, 50%, 90%, 17%, or whatever percentage, there is a hidden decimal point after the whole number. Not just in percentage, but to any whole number, to all whole numbers, they have decimal points hidden. If there is no number after the decimal point, it will not show up. So in this case, I'm going to erase that so we'll have enough space. Okay, So in this case, if you divide that to 100, you don't have to divide it manually like what we did a while ago. You don't have to do this because it takes most of our time. So what you're going to do is just move the decimal point to the left 2 times. 1, 2, and then put the decimal point. You see there is an empty slot here. Then you have to write there 0 if it's empty. So the answer is 0.05, the same as what we got when we divided it manually here, right? We got the answer here 0.05. They're the same. That's what I'm saying. Whatever method or way you use to get the answer, as long as you did it right, you get the same correct answer. Okay, so in this case, you see the decimal point here. As I'm saying before, do not just write decimal point. You write 0 if there is no whole number. Okay, so let's try with other percentage. So let me erase this. Okay. So the next one here is 24. So again, 24 divided by 100 to make it decimal. To convert it to decimal, you have to divide, right? So 24 divided by 100, as I've said, to save more time and effort, all you have to do is move your decimal point 2 places to the right, to the left. Okay, so here it's 0.24. Okay, 1, 2. Okay, third one, 115%. So to find the decimal, divide this to 100. So let's move our decimal point 1, 2. Then that shows the decimal point is between 1 and 1. Okay, just like here, 1, 2. So it's 1.15 or 1 and 15 hundredths. Okay, third one, the next one, it's 15.7. So since there is a decimal point already here, then we will start here and not in the last after 7, because there is already a decimal point. So we will not make another decimal point. You cannot make 2 decimal points in one number. There should just 1 decimal point in a number. All right, so let's move this into 2 spaces. 1, 2, and that is 15, 0.157. Right, so that's it. So let's try to convert this percentage to decimal. As I've said, we'll just count 2 spaces to the left, and then that's the decimal. Okay, divide to the left 2 spaces. Right, so 1, 2, then we got there 0.15. 34%, 1, 2, then it's 0.34. Easy, right? So here we have 3 digits, then move 2, 1, 2. So the decimal point is in between 1 and 6. So we got there 1.60. How about 5%? Let's count 1, 2, decimal point. There's an empty slot there, so we write 0. So it's 0.05. How about 1? 1, 2. Okay, there's an empty slot again, so we add 0 there. So it's 0.01. How about 100? 1, 2. So it's 1.00. And here, you have to remember that after the decimal point, you can remove the zeros. Or after the number, if the 0 is the last digit, you can just remove the zeros after. Okay, I mean, if it's in the last, you cannot remove the zeros in between. Okay, you cannot remove this, only the zeros after, just like this one. Okay, we can remove that. That means 100% is equal to 1, 1 whole. Okay, that means it's whole. Right, now let's, this one, it's the other way around, decimal 2%. Okay, before this, it's percent to decimal. This one is decimal to percent. It's the other way around. So to do this, when we convert percent to decimal in here, we divide, right? Divide, so move the decimal points to the left. And in this case, decimal to percentage or to percent, we will have to multiply. Okay, it's the reverse method. Multiply to 100. And as I've, just like what we did in our division, you don't have to multiply it manually one by one. You can just move the decimal points. This is only for base 10, okay? You can move the decimal points for base 10 only, like if it's divided by 10, divided by 100, by 1000, or times 10, times 100, times 1000, right? Do not apply this if the multiple is not a base 10 number. Okay, so in here, since we're dealing with percent, and percent means 100, then that means we will multiply it to 100 to find the percentage. Okay, so here we have the decimal number. We will multiply this to 100. So let's see 0.51 times 100. Okay, so we have here 2 zeros. We can just remove that down here in our answer. And then 1 times 1 is 1. 1 times 5 is 5. And here 0, you don't have to include a 0 if it's on the left side. Now, since we have 2 digits after the decimal point, right? 1, 2. Then that means you also have to count here 1, 2, and then put the decimal point. Okay, so if the decimal after the decimal point are zeros, then you can just remove it. So the answer is 51. Then add percent. Okay, you see here there is a decimal point, right? But since we erase the 0, then as I've said, if there are no decimal, there are no digits after the decimal point, the decimal point can just hide. It doesn't have to show here. Okay? Okay, decimal point will not show there if there is no digit after the decimal point. So it will just hide. Okay. So just like what we did in our in converting percent to decimal, we don't have to do this. It takes our time, because it takes time really. So all we have to do is move the decimal point to the other way, this time to the right. Okay, now move back to find the percentage. So you see the decimal point is on the right side, so it can be hidden. So it's 51%. So we do the same to the other given numbers, times 100 to find the percentage from decimal. This is only for decimals, all right? 1, 2. So there's an empty space here, right? 0 there. So 0.05 is 50%. Okay. Remember this one. On decimals, you can remove the zeros like this in decimals only, right? But in percentage and percents, you cannot remove the zeros. Okay, remember that one. Because in percentage, if you remove the 0 here, that will be 5%. And 5% is so much different from the 50%. Okay. So the same with here in point 1. Let's move 2 spaces to the right because we multiplied 200, right? Multiply to 100. So that is 10%. All right. So we do the same here. Move to the right, 1, 2. So that is 452%. Okay, move to the right, 1, 2. So that is 129.1%. Okay, in here, move 2 places, 1, 2, write 0 there. So it's 130%. Easy, right? Just remember when converting decimal to percent is a whole number, right? So that means it's greater than the decimal. So when you're looking for a greater number, you have to multiply. But if it's percent to decimal, percent is a whole number and decimal is less than 1. So you're going to go down, then that means you have to divide. Okay, divide. So percent to decimal, divide. Decimal to percent, times. Okay, and when you times, you move the decimal points to the right. And if you divide, you move the decimal points to the left. All right. So let's proceed to comparing and ordering numbers. Okay. Now, how are we going to compare numbers which are different, like this? This is a decimal, and this is a percentage. Can we compare them? They might look different, but their values are the same. Their values could be the same. So how are we going to do, what are we going to do to be able to compare them? It's either we make this decimal into a percentage or this percentage be converted to a decimal just to make them the same. You have to make them the same, both of them decimal or both of them percentage. So whatever is your preferred way, then you can do it. Anyway, you'll get the same answer. So in this case, let's try to convert 0.5 to percentage. So this is a decimal, and decimal to percentage is divide, right? Oh no, multiply. Because decimal is smaller and we're converting to a greater number, so we will multiply it to 100. That means we'll move the decimal points to the right 2 times. 1, 2. So there's 0 there. And so our percentage here is 50%. Right? So 50%, 20%, which is greater, of course, 50%. So our answer there is more than. All right, easy, yeah? Okay, let's try another one. This one, 0.25 and 18%. What do you think? You can make this, we can make this into a percentage. So we can compare them both, or we will convert this into a decimal. Okay? Any way, in any way. So let's try convert, since we're done with this one. Let's try converting a fraction, a percentage to a decimal. So how are we going to make this into a decimal? Again, percent is greater than, it's a whole number, right? And then you're converting it to decimal. So that means you will divide. Divide that to 100. Then that means the decimal point be moved 2 times to the left. So the decimal point is here. Move to the left, 1, 2. Then there's the decimal point there. So it's 0.18. Now that we got the decimal, which is greater, 0.25 or 0.18? Of course, 0.25 is greater. So our answer here is, again, more than. All right. Now let's try this. Okay, 50% and 2/4. All right, so let's try to make it into a fraction since this is a fraction here. But remember, when you are using if you want to use the fraction method, if you want to convert them into fraction, their denominator should be the same, and that should be 100. Why? Because percent is expressed as a fraction of 100. So 50% to make that in fraction, that is 50 of every 100 or 50 out of 100. So to write that in fraction, it's 50 out of 100. Then that's the fraction. We will not round this down. I mean, we will not round this to the lowest term because we have to have the denominator 100. Okay, so we do the same here. What are we going to multiply to 4 to make this 100? 4 times 25, right? So the denominator now is 100. Now we multiply the same on the numerator. So 2 times 25 is 50. Now we got the fraction. 50 over 100, 50 over 100. That means 50% is equal to 2/4. Why is it? If you want to check your answer, let's try to convert them into the lowest term. Okay, so 50 out of 100, if you divide this to 50 and this one to 50, so 50 divided by 50 is 1, and 100 divided by 50 is 2, 1/2. Let's try this one. 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 4 divided by 2 is 2. So this is still half. So all of them are 1/2. Okay, that means they are equal. We'll proceed with ordering these fractions, decimals, and percents. In order to order them, we have to convert all of them into the same pattern. Like decimals, all of them should be decimals, all of them should be fraction, all of them should be percentage before we can compare. Okay, so let's try to use the convert all of them into fraction. Okay, fraction. So 62, to make this into fraction, since there are two places after the decimal point, that means it's hundreds, right? So automatically 0.62, I mean 0.62 is 62 over 100. Okay, how about this 4/5? Yes, this is already a fraction, but we have to have all denominators 100. Okay, so we will have to to change this and multiply this to a factor to make this 100. So what do you think is a factor? It's 20, right? 5 times 20 is 100. Okay, the same with 4. 4 times 20 is 80. So that's the numerator. Now how about 14%? Again, 14% means 14 of every 100. So just write the denominator 100 right away. The same with 0.25. 25 has two places after the decimal point, and that means that is hundreds. Okay, the denominator is hundreds. Okay. Anyway, in our previous lesson, we have discussed already converting decimal to fraction, right? So I think this is already a review to you. So that's it, 25 out of 100. Now 29%, that means 29 of every 100. So that's it, 29 of every 100. And the last one, 25, we have to multiply this to 4 to get the denominator 100. So 6 times 4 is 24. So that's what we got here. Now you see the denominators are all 100 and they are all now fractions. Now it's easier for us to see which of these are which of this is the least and which is the greatest. Yeah. Okay, so let's try to number them, sort them in ascending order from the smallest. So the smallest here, you look at the numerators. The smallest numerator is 14, right? So that means this is the number 1. That's the smallest. The second one is 24. So that means 24 is number 2. Third one is 25. So next is 29. That's the fourth one. And the fifth one is 62, and then 80. So that's it. It's easier to compare if they are all the same. So this is the fifth and this is the sixth. So here we got there. They are not arranged in ascending order, but we have to arrange these numbers here. Okay, this one. Oops. Okay, so that's it. We use fraction in this case, but actually we can do the same with decimals. Okay, we convert them into decimals. Now let's see if we'll get the same answer. Okay, just look. 5, 62 is 5, fifth, sixth, first, third, fourth, and second. So let's try to write down their ranks on the next page because the given numbers are just the same. So this is 5, and this is fifth, this is the sixth, this is the first, this is the third, this is the second, and this is, oh, what is it? Fourth, and then the second. Okay, so this is the fourth, and then the second. So let's see if we've got the same answer. Let's try with this one first. Since this is already a decimal, then we don't have to do anything on that. We'll just write that down. 4 fifths, how are you going to make that into decimal? Let's convert this into a fraction with the denominator 100, or you can simply divide 4 divided by 5. Okay, do it manually, or let's multiply this to 20 to make the denominator 100. Or you can use 10 or 2 to get the denominator 10. Anyway, since we're dealing with the base of 100 here, then let's just multiply it with 20. So 4 times 20 is 80. Now, 80 over 100 in fraction is 0.80, right? 0.80, because we move the decimal points 2 places to the left to divide 100. So that's it. And if we're dealing with decimal points, you can just remove the 0. Okay, this is only for decimal points. Now let's try with 14%. 14%, to make this into decimal, you just move the decimal point to the left 2 times. So that is 0.14. And this one, it's already a decimal, so you don't have to do anything on that. 29%, move the decimal points to the left again. So it's 0.29. And then the last one, you will multiply this to 4 to make it 100. And then 6 times 4 is 24. So 24 divided by 100 is 0.24. All right. Now let's see if our answer is still the same, which is the first one here, the smallest. Okay, just look at their numbers. The small is 14, so that's the number one. You see, it's correct. Second one is 24, right? That's why, okay, that's the second. See, we have the same answer, even if these are decimals already. The third one is, third greatest is 25. You see, that's the same. Fourth one is, which do you think? Of course, this one, that's the fourth. The fifth, and the sixth. So you see, whatever you use, either you make them all to decimals or fractions like this, oops, fractions or um, percentage, you'll get the same answer. Okay, so after that, you can now arrange them in order, but you should use these given numbers. Okay, so that's all for today. So thank you for listening and see you again in our next videos. Goodbye.